Hey everybody, welcome to episode number 2 of the A1 Autobody podcast. Today I have on with me the infamous Flatbed Red truck artist extraordinaire. She's going to talk to us about what it's like living on the plains of Ohio, her first commission, and what it's like being a high-class, classically trained artist in a low-brow trucking world. I hope you guys all enjoy listening to it as much as I enjoyed making it. If you like what you hear and you'd like to check her out some more, you can check her out on www.missflatbedred.com. Missflatbedred.com, spelled just like it sounds. And without further ado, let's get this thing started. Hi, Red. Thank you for joining me today.
Hi, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing wonderful. For anyone who doesn't know, your name is Flatbed Red, and you are I don't know how you would describe yourself, a truck artist?
I do a little bit of everything, but right now trucks are my focus by a long shot right now. But I also do things like pet portraits and all that. But trucks.
Oh, you do yes. Pet portraits too?
I do. Yeah, I'm trying to keep that on the DL to some extent. They take longer than trucks, since they're usually paintings. And so right now I am focusing on trucks, but I do have a couple dogs and a cat named Beyonce lined up right now.
Well, maybe I'll send out a picture of my dog for you, and you can
go for it.
So I found you on Instagram. You were actually one of the first accounts I ever followed when we first started up our Instagram.
I appreciate it.
And ever since, I mean, every day I go and check and see what you're doing, because you have, your pictures are absolutely amazing. You do awesome work.
Thank you.
Seem to have like a super cool life. Like, you always have pictures of sweet trucks, and like everything's always sunny and nice, and you look like you're living the quintessential American dream out there in Ohio.
Oh yeah, totally. And the plains of Ohio. Everyone's dream right there.
Have you always lived in Ohio?
Well, I live in my hometown. My mom and her family are from here also, Findlay, Ohio. Just along I-75, Northwest Ohio, about 40 minutes south of Toledo. But I lived in London for a long time, London, England, and I did my undergraduate degree here in Bowling Green, Ohio, which is just north of Findlay. So I basically lived here until I was 18, moved to college just down the road, but I didn't drive, so I was there for good while I was there. And then after college, I came back here for a year, saved up some money, and moved to England. And then I stayed there on and off, but mostly straight through until just 3 years ago, I moved back. So, yeah.
What's the timeline look like from you going from, it seems like a major jump to go from living in Ohio your whole life and then walking down the road to college and then jumping to London.
That sounds great right now. It is so cold outside.
Way worse. That sounds like a way better, more of a stretch than London.
I studied, my undergraduate and master's degrees are both in music education. So back in high school, I played trumpet, was my main instrument. I was really active in the music program at my high school, and I also did art. It's always been art and music battling each other out along the way, but music ended up winning out for college at least, and I got really into a certain composer from the early 1800s who was really heavy on brass instruments, and since I played trumpet, and there was one particular orchestra and conductor that I had in my mind's eye as the best one out there, especially for this particular composer. So I ended up meeting him, getting to know the orchestra, at least a couple of them online, and then I won a fellowship in college to go over and shadow them. It was the London Symphony Orchestra, so pretty big deal as a college student. I was like, I still don't really believe it happened, but I'm still in touch with some of them, and reminds me it was real. So I went over for a summer during college And then I went back the next summer to keep those connections up. And then I ended up graduating, spent a year saving up money, like I said. And then I moved over and did an art course, like a pre-bachelor's sort of thing. It's called a foundation diploma at Camberwell, Chelsea, and Wimbledon College of Art, part of the University of the Arts, London. And that was a 1-year program. Came back here, applied for master's programs, and moved back that fall, just a couple months later. And that was a 2-year master's program. Got engaged to an English person, then was not, moved back here. So that's it in a nutshell.
Had to leave the country after that.
Yes. No, just didn't work out with visas and all that. So moved back here and married someone from Ohio who's into trucks. And there we open our can of worms and the slippery slope into my current life truck artist.
So it sounds like you're not just a truck artist. It sounds like you're a highly educated. It sounds like this is more than just a hobby or a side gig. Sounds like something you have been led to your entire life almost.
Right. Yeah. Every artist wants to find their own little niche to make their name and whatever, like the dreams of anyone, really. You want to become well known for something you really like. I never ever thought that would be trucks. Yeah, like while I was in London, I was studying with a portrait painter who's traveled with the military and painted in Afghanistan with the British Army, and he has portraits in famous schools and churches and cathedrals all over the place, in England at least. And I worked with him for several years, and I thought I'd become a portrait painter. Then I dabbled in pet portraits and started to push that a little bit. And then I went to the Mid-America Truck Show, and to pass the time, since I didn't know anyone in this world yet, this trucking world, I sat down with a sketchbook. Like, I'll take my sketchbook and a pen, whatever, pass the time. So I started drawing J.C. Alt's Peterbilt cab over by the ATHS table in there. And halfway through, I didn't know what I was doing, but halfway through, someone came up to me and said, if I paid you, would you draw my truck? Like, I would do that. So I moved right over there and drew the Circum's panel truck, and it all kicked off from there. So
wow, yeah. You have like a superhero origin story almost.
I was in the right place at the right time. Someone believed in me, and it all went from there. But looking back at that first drawing, it's pretty shocking even to me to see how much things have changed in such it hasn't even been 2 years yet, so in such a short period of time. Yeah.
Even just through your Instagram, you can see, you're constantly improving. As part of this interview, I was doing some research on you, not like weird creepy research, just normal run-of-the-mill research, and I went
we haven't talked about my day job yet, but it involves creepy research sometimes on people. No. Whatever.
I was like, really?
Facebook stalking. No, whatever.
We'll get back to that.
Okay.
You could definitely see, your skills improve rapidly, and every picture looks better and better. You are certainly seems like you're getting a hold of, finding where you want to be anyway.
Definitely. Yeah. And I'm learning more about what it is I'm doing. So from portraits to trucks is a huge difference. There aren't really straight lines on faces. So it's a big difference, and I like it. I'm learning what tools work best for me, what materials I like, what materials I never need to invest in again.
That's an important one.
Yes, definitely. I'm sitting here in my studio right now, actually, and there is a very foreboding pile of shipping supplies and paper and frames. So I'm learning what's good, what works, what doesn't, and yeah,
Would
it's cool to
you?
see. Mm-hmm.
Were your parents? Did they encourage you into the arts when you were growing up?
Yes, my family's always been really supportive. I'm an only child. I hope no one says, "Oh, obviously." But so I had to entertain myself a lot. I'd be coloring, have crayons or whatever, coloring books, paper. So I was always sketching as long as I can remember. And my mom and my dad's mom both dabbled in art, and I got to do projects when I'd go to my grandma's house, and I had a little desk set up with art supplies there. So I've always been surrounded by people who are very encouraging to help me do things that I like, whatever they are.
Were your mom and dad artistic people?
My mom is, yeah. So the Christmas ornaments that you've seen that I've painted, I got the idea from her. Actually, she like writes names and sometimes does little drawings on them for a local church bazaar here in town. And so I've been experimenting with that, found some pens that work really well on the ornaments, and that's growing too. I never thought I'd be painting Christmas ornaments, and yeah, it's cool.
Stalking people and painting Christmas ornaments is a great
Yeah,
way
there
to
we
make
go.
a living.
Yeah, my day job is social media for area businesses and a website here that it's a calendar of local events, but we also do some advertising for local businesses. And yeah, so I do Facebook for a living with some web design in there, but Facebook and art, it's great.
um, so when you had first started drawing trucks, you got those first two. So you
Mm-hmm.
got you were just drawing the first one just for fun, and then the next one um, just kind of came along.
Mm-hmm.
And then what was the next step? What was the next step that you took after that?
So that was at the Mid America Truck Show which is at the end of March. From there, I don't think I really did anything until if I remember right, until the American Truck Historical Society's convention. So it was in 2017. It was in Des Moines in Iowa, and I had to work, so I couldn't really go, but my husband is involved pretty heavily with the ATHS. He runs their Facebook page and things. So I left work on Friday at 4:30 in the afternoon and drove straight through to Des Moines, which is far away from here. in my mind, at least. I'm not a trucker, so it was far. And I spent one day at the show, and I sat and just started drawing just a random vehicle there. It was an old bus. And as I was drawing, again, someone came up to me, "Hey, would you draw my truck?" So that's how I found the best way to do something at a show is to just sit there and let people approach me, at least in the early days. Um, Unfortunately, it poured that day. So I did one drawing. Um, but actually, in the meantime, I did one of my husband's truck, a K100, sitting in our driveway. I sat out on a stool and drew it from life, as you would call it. And I took that with me to the show in Iowa, set it on a little easel inside next to the registration table. So when it was raining and everyone came inside and they saw me sitting there with that drawing, it just sparked conversations. And I got a couple of commissions just sitting there for one day. So that's really where it started to pick up, I would say.
So I mean, by your third show, you were already getting commissions, and you'd only drawn like 4 trucks at this time. That's pretty. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
talk about finding a.
Oh, I skipped one. Yeah, that was the end of May, but before that was our local ATHS chapter has a show every year in. Oh no, that's in June. Never mind. All good. That's in June. So that would have been next. Our show in Ashland, Ohio, on the east side of Ohio, would have come after that. And I think around that time, we may have started toying with the idea of coming up with some sort of alter ego name to go along with this. So
You mean your birth name? Hold on, your birth name isn't Flatbed Red?
Shh, don't let it get out there. Yes. But yeah, as the summer went on, we thought about how we could push this, because I realized there's actually a market out there for this, more so than portraits. I mean, who draws trucks? I know there are a few people, and they're incredible, but as far as I know, they're not trained artists, they're working truck drivers. So me, cogs turning in my mind, thinking I could actually turn this into a full-time gig. Eventually that would be the goal, but in the meantime, I love the job I have. I love being involved in my local community as much as I am. So right now I'm doing both, and I'm getting more and more artwork to do. So I'm spending lots and lots of time in my studio. And I also teach dance. So I'm working like 50 to 60-hour weeks right now.
So your three skills go. You're truly a Renaissance woman. I mean, you do dance, you do still play the trumpet?
I haven't much, just because of lack of opportunities locally. Christmas and Easter, churches want trumpets, but not really the rest of the year.
fun A1 fun fact: my dad, Dwayne Sands, our head painter and owner, also played the trumpet in high school.
Good man then.
Hopefully, he
I like him
listen.
already.
Hopefully, he doesn't listen to this, because he wouldn't want me to tell everybody that. The Oh man, I totally just had a question in my head and then I lost it. What was I just about to say? What were we just talking about? Dwayne Sands. Before that,
Flatbed Red not being my birth name.
What would you say is like the normal kind of, like, what's the average person who contacts you and looking for a commission?
That's actually a really good question. There isn't one really. So before I got into the trucking world, the people that I talked with about artwork and about commissions, the people I did work for, were people involved in the art community to some capacity a lot of times. At least locally, they go to galleries here in town, or we have this event called Art Walk every May and December. Artist studios are open, galleries are open, businesses and restaurants have music and art on display. So it gets the community out into our studios, and people would come in and talk about, oh, hey, could you do this painting of my whatever for me? So it was people who were in this world already to some extent, and they understood the process of commissioning an art. They saw my studio, they'd see what goes into the work. But now I think it's really interesting. I feel like I get to be an ambassador and a bridge from the art world into this world where people may not have any previous experience commissioning an art or a piece of art, or maybe even speaking to a professional artist, maybe something out of their comfort zone. So now truck drivers contact me, or people who know truck drivers and see what I've done in that realm, at least. So it's really interesting to speak with people who haven't ordered commissioned original custom artworks before. Yeah, it's cool to get to talk to them for the first time about something I'm really excited about that's totally new to them, and explaining how the process works, if that makes sense and wasn't too long and rambling.
No, that was fantastic. It actually, when you were just saying that, probably the closest that most people nowadays get to commissioning a piece of artwork would be getting a tattoo.
Yeah, actually, funny you should mention that, because someone else who found me on Instagram down in Louisiana, he is actually having me do a tattoo for him.
I thought you were going to say he was having you tattooed on him.
I think my signature is going to be part of it, which is pretty epic.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
Do you find that with, I mean, the internet, I feel like
the internet obviously made art accessible to everybody more so than any other time in history. Do
Mm-hmm.
you find that it's difficult to make people understand how much work goes into a drawing? I think a lot of people it's like, well, it's, you just drew it real quick. You do it for free
Mm-hmm.
almost. You know what I mean? Is it hard to get people to understand like why prices are what they are and
Well, yeah, that's another good question. So a few people have contacted me, more so on Instagram than Facebook, um, which and they've said, "So here's my truck. Could you draw this for me?" Like, and then I direct them to the price chart on my website. They're A lot of them think that I work for free because art is fun, right? But I've spent money learning how to do this. I've spent a lot of time practicing, and I then point out, well, would you haul this load from here to here for free? You don't work for free. You enjoy what you do. I can't work for free, yet I do enjoy what I do. Um, and once they see all the work that goes into it and I explain the time that goes into it, show them, I like doing live videos so people can actually see me working to see what does go into it. It's not just scrawling something out over 20 minutes or whatever. I spend a lot of time on what I do, and I've spent a lot of time learning how to get more efficient at it. And just because I can do it faster now than I used to, doesn't mean I can charge less. It's still a lot of work that goes into it.
right. And as you get better, as you the as you buy more tools and
Mm-hmm.
expand, you probably prices would only go up. Just like I wouldn't charge someone the same price that I used to paint their truck now when I did
Exactly.
before.
Yes, exactly. And again, the more I do, the more I learn what works and what doesn't. So my tools do change. I do try new things, and see what works better so I can give people the best product. So like I have sheets of paper that are the same size, but and they basically do the same thing, but one of them is probably $5 a sheet and the other one is $25 a sheet because of the quality of the items that I'm using. I'm making sure that people get the best they can, from what I can provide to them.
From my perspective, I can't. I mean, I've only. I think I can't even imagine what a $25 sheet of paper would even look like. Um,
It's made in France from a paper mill that has been there since I believe the 15th century. Yeah.
and you order it from France?
No, there's a few different art supply websites that I use. A lot of watercolor painters use this particular type of paper, Arches. It's pretty incredible.
And what's the? I mean, as an artist, what's the difference?
So the thinner paper, the difference between these two kinds that I'm talking about, I do like them both for different things,
Oh,
but
I'm thinking just like normal. What like what's the difference between like the art? Is it arches?
yeah, Arches is the manufacturer, the brand of the higher quality paper of the two. So the thick paper holds up better for wet medium. So the marker drawings that I do, which is basically everything I'm doing right now, is either colored pencil or marker. And the marker looks like watercolor paintings. It's Arteza real brush pens, is what they're called. They are actual brushes and they're water based ink. So I basically can dip these markers in water and mix them together, blend the colors together, and it's just like watercolors in a lot of ways, the ways it lays down on the paper. So if I use thin paper, water saturates it and the paper starts falling apart, and the thicker paper holds up better. So the bigger the drawing, the more necessary it is for me to use the thicker paper so it can handle the medium that I'm using.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Is there? It sounds like there's a pretty big trucker car kind of community out in Ohio. Is that true?
Yes, it is. There at least from what I've learned being part of it now, I notice it more, and I'm starting to be able to identify the different kinds of trucks, much to my husband's pride. So yeah, I'm seeing them now. I notice them, and I know about truck collections in the area that I didn't know existed. I didn't know that was a thing, but car collections are. And now I explain that to other people. Yeah, people collect trucks just like they do cars.
Yeah, they're just better. It's just better. They're bigger and better.
They take up more space.
Yeah,
they're more
fantastic.
expensive.
And they're louder too. Don't forget
Yes,
that. Well,
exactly.
I guess not always, but in general.
They should be.
So you mentioned, I apologize, I don't remember what the exact name of it. The American Historic Trucker
the American Truck Historical Society. I'll give them a little plug. They're based in Kansas City, and they promote American trucks that are 25 years or older generally. But there are members all over the world. They have a really active Facebook group. I think there are well over 50,000 members in that group now. And they're always looking to encourage more people to join the society as members. There's Wheels of Time is a magazine they send out every other month with articles and pictures of trucks from members, information about upcoming shows all over the place, old trucks for sale, etc. So it's a great group of people who are really enthusiastic about keeping the history of trucking alive all over the world.
And you said your husband is a
he's a board member.
Board member.
Yes. So he's, I believe, something to do with the communications sector of the ATHS.
I didn't want to oversell it. I was going to say president, and then I was like, well, maybe.
No, although there are quite a few people from Ohio who are involved with the board and officer positions. So there is a pretty good connection from Ohio to the National Society, but there are chapters all over the country also and overseas. So when you join the National Society, you can also find your local chapter and join that too. And they have their own meetings, and then there's a convention every year that moves around the country. In 2018, it was in Lexington at the National Horse Park. This year, it will be in Reno, Nevada at the Grand Sierra Resort. So there will be trucks inside and outside. There were, I think, 1,200 trucks in Des Moines in 2017. So they have a Guinness Book of World Records title for the most historic trucks in one place. It's a lot of fun. It's a great association, a great group to be associated with.
And it sounds like you get to travel quite a bit. So it sounds kind of like your art and like your husband's affiliation with or board membership of the kind of goes really hand in hand. So do you guys get to travel a lot together to do kind of these things?
We just go to the shows because we like them, really. But he goes to board meetings in Kansas City. I think that's twice a year that they go and plan the events and talk about the group and how they can promote trucking, etc. But we have traveled to quite a few different shows. And I take my I have a chair, a nice tall director's chair, and a UV umbrella because I am very pale and get sunburned very easily. But no, we've gone to a show up in Ontario, the Clifford Truck Show in Clifford, Ontario, by the Great Lakes Truck Club. They put it on, and that is a fantastic show. Super, super nice people up there. I actually have sent a lot of work to Canada, specifically Ontario. So shout out to all my homies up in Canada.
Do you find that there's a big trucking culture up there, obviously, then?
Oh, yes. Big time, which, I mean, I didn't, like I said before, I never really knew about trucking all that much, but now that I've learned more about what's popular in Canada and that people work the old trucks up there also. But they look a little different sometimes. The Canadian spread axles and things like that. All these words I never thought I would say. But no, there's a really cool little community up there, and people traveled from both coasts to get to that show. It was a lot of fun on Canada Day weekend. But and some of our friends up in Canada come down to shows here also. So that's also, it's really cool to see how far people will travel to spread their love of the industry and the history of trucking. It's it's cool to see such dedication.
It is cool. It's one of those things that, I mean, it's always been a part of American culture and American history, and sometimes it's been kind of, I would say now it's not really like a mainstream thing like it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, the world runs on trucking, you know.
Exactly. Yep.
And it's great to see that people have so much passion for something that you know, maybe most people don't really appreciate that much.
And I'm trying to do what I can to make people realize that when I hear people talking smack about truckers, like, hold on a second.
I actually was just looking. You just mentioned like kind of different looking trucks. I was just looking today to see. I was thinking um, that I would love to paint I don't even know how to pronounce it. Scania truck. They use them a lot in Europe. And I went to look, and I can only find one dealership. It's in Texas. Like, what a strange location for a European, the only European trucking
in Texas.
dealership in America is this the only Scania dealership is in Texas.
That is interesting. Funny story, actually, talking about European trucks. So my dad's family historically came from Northern Ireland, and I went back to our historic hometown. I think it was
that's
on
why
my
you sunburn so easy.
Oh yeah, I'm very pale. So I went back. I've been there 4 times now, I think, back to this town. And the first time I went, I didn't really know what to expect. You read about Northern Ireland, you think it's all history, but stuff still happens there that you may not think would. But I saw a sign on the road that said something about, it was a police sign saying that there was something happening and don't cross or whatever. Like, oh my goodness, I probably shouldn't be walking around here, but I'm gonna go get my camera and come back. So I walked down there to investigate, and then all of a sudden all of these trucks went by, dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of bobtail lorries. And I was trying to figure out what was happening, and some people walked up and said they're trying to break a record of the most, like, a procession of trucks through the area. They didn't break the record, but there's a video. I should probably share that if I can find it. And it was just lots and lots of European trucks driving by.
What? So coming back to your artwork, do you have any favorite pieces that you've worked on?
Oh, I don't want to leave anyone out. Actually, there's one that I just finished that is being gifted on the 11th of January. So by time this is out there, I'll probably have shared it with people.
I'm sharing it tonight. I got a scoop.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited to share that, though. It's going, well, it is in Massachusetts, and it's being gifted to a company owner for an anniversary. And I look forward to seeing how it went over. I really enjoyed how it turned out.
And
so that one.
does every kind of picture you do become your new favorite when you finish it?
Yeah, that is how it's turning out. Yep.
Are there any dream pieces that you think, like, boy, I'd love to paint? You know?
Well, obviously, I need to get some movie trucks under my belt. So Smokey and the Bandit is on my radar, and I will do a large one, a nice big one, so I can get all that detail in there of the mural on the side of the trailer. So that's one I'm looking forward to doing. But that's one that I need to do in my own time, basically. And I don't have much of that right now. But I also have a children's book in the works. it's been written for over a year. But again, to sit down and illustrate it, I need to have time, and I haven't had that yet.
You do a lot of stuff, huh?
It's a trucking related children's book.
That's excellent.
Mm-hmm.
What's it called?
We'll get to that another day.
Oh, okay,
I want to
alright.
get an illustration out there first. Yeah.
There's I'm actually just scrolling. I'm trying to scroll back real quick and see. Earlier this year, I had shared a picture that I thought was from the movie Smokey and the Bandit, and the artist who actually ended up being the painter of the picture asked for credit, and I was like, "Oh my god, I didn't even realize this is a painting. I'm wicked sorry that I stole this from you."
Oh wow.
I'm just trying to find it so I can give him a shout out, but it was his artwork. He's from England, I guess, and his artwork he does fantastic work.
There are a couple of truck artists that I follow in England also. One is in Cambridge. I think he's called the Transport Artist. I can't remember his actual name though. And then the other one is up in the Lake District, I think.
We're giving out a lot of really poor shout outs right now.
Yes, they are. Yeah, and another one, oh my goodness, this is awful. Oh yeah.
Well, I took this guy's picture that he had this beautiful painting that he had made, and probably spent like I can't even imagine how much time someone would spend on something like this, and turned it into a meme. So like, I felt terrible afterward.
Oh no.
His name is @ Ian _guy _ motoring artist. So I guess Ian Guy is his name, but he does a bunch of really good work. But he did a really good picture of the Smokey and the Bandit car and truck riding together.
Oh, I don't know that person. You'll have to send me that name when we're done with this.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I turned it into a meme about sneaking straws into California, and then he totally called me out on stealing his picture.
Oh my goodness.
So you talked about a few truck artists. Now, where do you get your inspiration from? Do you just kind of like research it? Do you just kind of go? Are you just getting it from the actual subject material that you're working with?
Literally everything I do now is commissions only. I have no time to come up with my own fun ideas or anything. I have a list of, at this point right now, I think I have 15 drawings lined up already this year. And that doesn't take into account all the ones that I'll do at shows also, which generally come to me at the show. Like people walk, oh, if I paid you, would you draw my truck? I'm like, yep, that's how it works. So I basically offer two different things. I do studio drawings in my studio here, which is nicely climate controlled with air conditioning and heat. And I do drawings outside at shows called location drawings, on location. So I sit there looking at your truck in person for no more than 2 hours. I limit myself to 2 hours, and 9x12 paper, no bigger than that, at shows, so I can pump them out, and I do those. So right now, all I have time to do with my day job and all of this is commissions only. And as soon as I have time, my next priority is illustrating this children's book.
You had said that most people probably have never commissioned a piece of artwork before. Could you just kind of walk us, just kind of quickly or not so quickly, it doesn't really matter, through what that process looked like? Just so that way, if anybody does want to reach out and contact you, they can kind of know what to expect.
So just have a photo in mind, like have the image in mind. I have to work from reference photos. So I need a clear photo, a nice high quality, the bigger the better, biggest file you have, nice clear photo in sunlight, so a nice big clear photo in direct sunlight is what I need to work from. You don't need to send me 50 photos, just one that fits that description is all I need. And if there's anything you want changed, like I sometimes put initials on the license plate or a date, or change details, add pinstripes or something, whatever you want. Just let me know the details. And I have a chart on my website, missflatbedred.com. And there's a price chart that shows the different options. The sizes are negotiable depending on the proportions of the picture you send me. But I offer pencil drawings, so just black and white graphite pencil, and then marker, which earlier we talked about the markers that I use that are sort of like watercolors. I love them. Colored pencil, and then acrylic paintings. So that's basically my 4 materials that I use, and they're all different sizes. So whatever your budget is, if you don't know what size you want, just give me a budget. I can suggest ideas and options for you.
What's the biggest painting you've ever, or painting or drawing that you've ever, what's the biggest commission you've ever done?
The biggest one I did was Rusty Moss's Peterbilt, and that was the biggest paper I could accommodate, which was 22 by 30 inches.
I thought you were going to say feet.
No.
I was like, wow, that's amazing. Where do you even buy that?
My drawing board is 5 feet wide, 5 by, I think, maybe 3.5 feet. So I could get a roll of paper and do something that size, but I ain't taping paper up on my wall, none of that stuff. So 22 by 30 is about my maximum for a drawing right now.
Do you do, like, if someone wanted their car done or their motorcycle? Or...
Yeah, anything at all. Anything at all except landscapes, basically, I'm open to.
They're just too boring for you?
No, I've never really been trained in landscape art, so it's just not really something in my comfort zone. But you said cars, and that made me think cards. A few people have had me turn the drawings that they've commissioned into business cards or coffee mugs. So that's all stuff that I offer also.
Oh, that's a cool idea.
Mm-hmm.
Do you, do you find that in general people are happy? I mean, have you had any? You probably haven't had any big complaint. I'm sure that if people are coming to you, they understand what they're getting. But have you had anyone just really unhappy with what they got at the end?
There is one person who was early on in my taking commissions, truck-related commissions, and I was given a deadline of, I think it was 2 months. So it was early June. I got the commission, and they wanted it on the other side of the country by August for a birthday. And I changed it was a painting. I moved everything around in the middle of summer. I canceled plans to finish this painting. I had it done. I was ready to send it. Like, send me the money and I will send you the drawing. It's like, okay. I sent the check. Like, didn't get the check. Weeks went by. August went by. Kept following up. Christmas came. I had chased maybe 5 times by then. He's like, yeah, I'll send a money order. No payment. So finally, at the next convention, a year after the original commission came in, I took it with me. I was ready to throw it out the window if he didn't have money. And he wrote me a check. Or no, he used a card. I gave him the drawing, which there had been pictures of shared already. He'd seen it. He's like, well, where's this? Like, that wasn't part of the truck. That was in the background of the photo you sent me. Well, that was really important. Like, you've seen pictures of it for a year, and you're just now telling me this?
It could have been that important.
Goodness. So I'm like, just give me the money that you told me you sent a year ago. It's like, oh, well, I still really like it, and I'll probably ask you to do some more. Like, you're paying in full up front. So unfortunately, everyone, this is the reason I require a 50% deposit up front at the time of commission, and that also secures your spot in my line, since people have asked me, so, just let me know when you have some downtime, and I'll have you do this. I'm like, I don't have downtime. I'm booked about 3 months out at any given moment. So start thinking now for Christmas.
Have you noticed that there's a lot of carryover between So your day job, you said, was Facebook and stuff. Have you been able to use like the marketing skills that you've gained through that to help market your business further?
Yeah, definitely, and vice versa too. I see what works for Flatbed Red, and I can put that out to other people also. And it's really great to see how it's grown. So when I came into my day job, I think we had about 12,000 followers on our Facebook page, and now we're up to almost 22,000 in 2 years. Which in a community of 40,000 people, and we just target this area, is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
They're probably gonna get pretty sick of the car shows and truck shows pretty soon, though.
I don't put those on there. They're separate beasts.
Well,
there is actually a car show in town, and I do always live stream that.
Oh wait, did I already ask you if there was carryover between your art stuff, like other art styles, and this? No, I don't think I did I?
No, you didn't.
Okay, good. I didn't cross it off yet, so sometimes I just forget stuff. So, so have you noticed a big carryover from the other kind of artistic things you do and your truck drawings?
I think the most important or at least the most important thing I have learned before I got to truck art, was that patience and practice are really vital to getting a good product out at the end. So I have learned to be patient with myself in my studio, which is carrying over into life, I would say, which is really good. I'm learning to slow down and take my time. And that's really important with portrait drawing because, I mean, if you mess up someone's face, it's obvious. So I like to think of the trucks that I'm drawing as portraits. So I went to a show in Wisconsin in Richland Center in October. And before I went, the person who had invited me had me draw his father-in-law's Speedwagon. And then I got to go to his father-in-law's collection and see his collection of Rios. And I met that truck. I say I met it because it's like I did a portrait of you. So I'm like, oh, I'm meeting the truck for the first time. And it feels like portraits to me.
Have you found that like kind of doing what you do, and then also with your husband running or not running, but being a board member of the American Truck Society, do you find that you kind of get to see things that maybe most people don't get to see, like as far as trucks and maybe private collections and that kind of thing?
I have got to see some things that I know are extremely rare. I have a commission that came from that same collection in Wisconsin, a commission that I need to get on here this month, of a 19 early it's from the 30s, and only 6 of them exist, I believe, and his is the only one that runs. So it's a pretty incredible looking truck. They call it Medusa. But I don't think it's beautiful. So Medusa has nothing to do with how she looks. But apparently when they got this truck, it was absolutely mangled, and that's probably how she got her name. But it has been beautifully restored, and it runs, and I got to see it's the only one that runs in the world.
Did you hear it run?
No, not at that point, no. But I believe them.
there's a monster truck called Medusa as well. So I first I was trying to remember what it looks like. I was like, I don't think that's a rare truck. I think it's just a normal looking monster truck.
No, this is a beautiful, very Art Deco truck. It's gorgeous.
Do you know any idea who makes it?
It was a Rio.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
So you said you keep your sessions like around 2 hours when you're drawing at a show.
Mm-hmm.
How long does a picture or painting take on average when you're doing it in studio?
Oh goodness. So the only one that I really did a good job of keeping track of was last summer, a green and white Kenworth K100. It was 18 by 24 inches, which is like the biggest average and like the biggest size that I would normally do. And it took me 30 hours, that drawing. So, but that was a year ago almost. So it's sped up since then.
Yeah,
And
still, I mean, when you think about, people haggling with a price over a price with you, when, I mean, that's essentially almost a week's worth of work for most people,
So, yeah, especially when I have a day job on top of that. So, yeah.
So that's why you're 3 months out. That's why you're booked 3 months out.
And that one I framed up and entered into a show here in my hometown, and it won a ribbon. So I got to send them the ribbon along with the drawing.
Yeah, but I feel like you're kind of a ringer because you work for them. You probably got like the in.
Oh, not for this place. No, I don't work for that.
All right. You probably still know people. We're on to you, Red.
I was the vice president of the organization at that time, but oh well. It was a member show, so it was bound to happen. But other than that, I am very bad about keeping track of time in my studio because I come in and time passes, but I'm not looking at my watch or anything. I need a stopwatch so I can actually hit the start and clock in and clock out. But this year, 2019, I have a nice little calendar that I was sent from Bixler Brothers Truck Line. So a shout out to them in Iowa. And it has nice lines on it so I can actually write what I worked on each day and keep track of hours. So the first week of 2019, which included the holiday, so Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 15 hours of work in addition to the day job in my studio. So I'm getting there. I'm starting to actually pay attention to my hours.
I think a lot of people probably have that, where they kind of zone out when they're doing something that they enjoy. Because I'll be at work and I'll be working on a truck, and if it's something that I'm really into, I'll look up and all of a sudden it's been 12 hours and I'm like, whoa, where'd the day go? All of a sudden it's dark and you're like, what's going on?
Exactly. And I do work well in at night and in the evening. So luckily it's been a while since I'm like, oh goodness, it's 2 a.m. because I do come up here so often now. I'm starting to try to give myself more of a routine, like be home by 11, wake up at 7.
I'm a weirdo. I've always been a morning person, so I'm up at like 4 a.m. anyways.
Well, I actually used to work in a coffee shop, and I liked opening because it meant I had to get up early. I had to be chipper and cheerful, and I did like working in the coffee shop and being a morning person.
A forced morning person.
Yeah, exactly. I had coffee. I had all the coffee I needed to be a morning
seriously,
person.
I feel like you kind of don't have an excuse at that point not to be awake. I think I've asked you all the questions that I can ask you, Red. Thank you so much for coming on today. I really appreciate it.
I enjoyed this. It's nice to chat with you.
And I look forward to continuing to follow you.
Thank you.
I really enjoy what you do, and I think if anybody who goes and looks at what you do would really appreciate it.
Thank you. Well, I will say that it's a little battle right now between Instagram and Facebook. Instagram is growing dramatically, so it's about to catch up to the numbers on my Facebook page. Can have a little battle out there.
Yeah, I completely abandoned Facebook. I started our Instagram it's almost been 2 years now, and people actually seem to enjoy us on Instagram, but on Facebook it's just crickets all over the place. I don't know. I don't know why or what is it. It probably goes way over my head, but yeah, Instagram's blowing up.
The cool thing about Facebook is that people are able to share photos in the comments also. So if I share a picture of something, they're like, oh, my dad used to have one of those, or that's what I learned to drive in. And then they share photos and people can interact with each other.
Yeah.
In some ways, a little bit more on Facebook. So they each have their pros and cons.
Facebook's weird just because I feel like Instagram is so much happier. Like everybody on Instagram seems so happy, and everyone
is. It's more positive. Thank you, people on Instagram.
Which is weird. I would have thought it was the opposite because on Facebook you have to use your real name, and people kind of have more accountability for what they say.
See, you just said it right there. Flatbed Red is my real name.
That's exactly what I'm saying. And then on Instagram, everybody is so happy all the time. So I don't know, maybe they're just faking it or what. But
It's more work to sift through all the comments on Instagram, so they just don't bother.
that's true. But I did notice on Instagram that lots of people want to DM me constantly. Not in a bad way. Or I should hold on. Let me rephrase that. Lots of robots contact you.
Yes,
I'm like,
I have actually gone through my followers on Instagram and reported all of the fake accounts, and I know that made my numbers drop, but it now makes me realize that I have authentic followers, and if I ever sponsor a post and have it sent to people in audiences like mine, my followers, it goes to real people instead of an audience of robots.
yeah, I mean, I get probably, 7 or 8 messages a day of just, you know, women with broken English who
Uh,
who
uh, Tag
are
me
trying to
and I
get
will
money out of me.
share.
Everybody's
Hmm.
everybody's always trying to get money out of me. Guys, I'm poor. Stop.
Then they realize I'm an artist.
Thank you so much for coming on today, Red, and I hope to talk to you soon.
Yeah, thank you so much. This was great. Keep in touch.
Absolutely. Have a wonderful night.
You too. Bye.